So I thought I would just do a little run through this bookcase. Run through books is always interesting. This particular set of books, I'm fairly certain, is going to be mostly historical books, but that's not a bad thing because I like history. I'm going to go through and just try to see what catches my eye here, and yeah, we'll see. So we have okay. There's Ulysses Grant up there. Um, Obviously, very impressive general, and underrated president. I've got some other books on Grant, and what an underrated president he was, and how much he did for the fight for civil rights. There's a couple of Confederate general books. Interesting. Um, let's see. Gettysburg, some Gettysburg. Lincoln. There's so many Lincoln books out there. I never quite know what to make of all of them, but I really like books about Lincoln's political career before he became president. Yeah, more Lincoln, the Civil War. And then, let's see here. Okay, these are actually movies. Okay. Some Charlie Chaplin mixed in with some just kind of more classic movies generally. There's a bunch of National Geographic stuff. That was like an old bunch of National Geographics. And I guess was that like a DVD set of National Geographics? I've never been that into National Geographic. I don't know. I assume they still print that print magazine. Let's see here. Okay, even more Civil War stuff. Where this is Grant. Stonewall Jackson. Boy, that's probably not permitted in today's culture. Let's see. Oh, that's the book about Hillary Clinton and her 2016 campaign. There's the Michelle Malkin book about Obama's White House. She's a conservative commentator. And then there's P.J. O'Rourke's is some conservative. Then there's this Nickel and Dimed is a sort of old book. It's a woman's story of working all these sort of odd jobs, and basically makes her feel. I think she ends up feeling very sympathetic for the sort of retail laborer. Very sort of very kind of left-wing book, but kind of interesting. Okay, history of Europe. Napoleon, 1000 AD. Oh, FDR, a little bit of FDR there. Let's see. Sally Hemings, interesting. And Thomas Jefferson. A lot of books here about Sally Hemings and Thomas Jefferson. Sally Hemings obviously was I guess she was a slave that Thomas Jefferson had children with. I don't know what the situation is with their descendants now. Guadalcanal, some World War II stuff here. Midway, Pearl Harbor, the Korean War, book about Mao, interesting. A little bit of Lenin and then Reagan. Let's see, Bill Gates, Business at the Speed of Thought. That sounds like one of those not so good quick write business books. Galileo, interesting, right out of political history now, a little bit more into science. There's sort of old science books here. let's see. Okay, then we got a little bit of religious stuff. Book about Paul, Dead Sea Scrolls, some Jesus stuff. Shroud of Turin. Interesting. Oh, then there's some baseball books here. Let's see. Anything interesting here? I think these are probably out of date by now. There's some sabermetric baseball stuff. I've always been a fan of that. Statistical movement, although I think it's gone a little too far in terms of how much statistics have taken over baseball, in the sense that the Astros have like former McKinsey consultants running their whole operation. And I think they've kind of taken baseball as a science a little too far. They kind of forgot that it's supposed to be an entertaining game as well. But obviously, their baseball used to be shrouded in so many sort of cliches and people who love to sort of spout cliches that it really needed a refresh, circa maybe 20 years ago, just to get people actually like making decisions that were smart, as opposed to just based on sort of old stories. Okay, these are just like general America books. The Civil War book. Let's see what we have here. Oh, this is like literature more. So this is Guy de Maupassant, Queen Margot, Balzac, Rousseau, France, Beethoven, Great Expectations. What a book that was for 9th grade English class. Medici stuff, Latin. There's The Stranger in French, I think. Camus. Then some travel books here for, let's see, Prague. Like some Paris in there, maybe. I've got an encyclopedia. Not sure how old this is, but pretty old, looks like. Back when that was like the sum total of our knowledge before the internet. I don't know, is that all 26 volumes or some number close to it? Oh, Stalin, exciting. Okay, there's a bunch of Russia stuff here. Stalin, Lincoln again. The Teamsters. Interesting. Looks like some Cliff Notes books down here. Not sure of what. Okay, English literature, anthologies of other literature. My Antonia, I remember reading that in the 9th grade. Robinson Crusoe. Hegel. Okay, more poetry. Poetry. William Blake. William Blake. There's that line in Bull Durham where the lady quotes William Blake. The Art of Argument, Existentialism, and then the Iliad. Okay, the Iliad, I'm not a fan of Homer. But the Iliad is good stuff. No, not the Iliad. Existentialism is good stuff. Okay, here we have famous poems. That's good. These are some really old books. Okay, a really old couple of Bibles. Okay, here we have, what are these? Oh, those are VHS tapes about the presidents. John Tyler, Zachary Taylor. Civil disobedience. Budgetary processes. The congressional process. David Brinkley. Calculus of consent. Short stories. Interesting. I don't know what some of those other books are. You can keep going down here. See what else is down here. The Story of Painting. It's a nun that teaches about art. Editorial cartoons of the year from 1993. And then a book about swimming. Usually swim a lot in the summer. Disappointed I can't this year because of COVID. I guess there's some places you can do it, but not in my building. Then there's some city books. There's Cincinnati's Detroit. A book on World War I. A book on Lincoln. Then a book of all the presidential campaigns. Chronicle of the 21st Century. That's got to be a big book. Or the 20th century. Taking Care of Your Cat. Okay. Scott Adams, in his former life, when he was just the Dilbert guy, before he became a political guy. Oh, then Pride and Prejudice. Dan Brown, Angels and Demons. Okay, that was the that was the book that came, I don't know when he wrote it, but it became popular after the Da Vinci Code. John Grisham. Let's see, the Founding Fathers, some more Founding Fathers. Short history of nearly everything. Not sure what's in the Can You Pass These Tests? Oh, then there's soccer for juniors, like kids soccer book. Okay, here we have Ulysses. Gentle Art of Verbal Self-Defense. Interesting. And then Writing, Influence, Introduction to Personality, Psychology, Darwin's Ghost, Born to Rebel, Modern Algebra. That doesn't look like a very modern algebra book. And then College Calculus. Those must be really old textbooks from some era in history. Let's see. Paris. Okay, we have baseball books here on Lou Gehrig, Babe Ruth, Mr. Popper's Penguins. I remember reading that as a kid. I think everybody reads that. Goosebumps. Rocks and Minerals. What is that? That looks like those images of Trump that they show at the Women's March every year. Wall Street. War and Peace. I don't think that's the actual War and Peace, though. The Devil Wears Prada. Interesting. Hawthorne. There's another Robinson Crusoe. Another Civil Disobedience. Interesting. Okay, then we're going to turn the corner here. We've got the complete book of, let's see what that says, Basic Economics. I think that's Thomas Sowell. And then there's a book on Thatcher. Joan of Arc. Interesting. What else is in here? Money and Banking. Adam Smith. And then FDR, more FDR. Great Speeches in History. A couple of books there on FDR. Then David McCullough, The Path Between the Seas. That's about the building of the Panama Canal, I believe. Taxes, dictionaries, lots of dictionaries. Almanacs, World Almanacs. New York Times World Almanac. I remember, do they still print World Almanacs? Guinness Book of World Records. When is that from? 1978. So an old Guinness Book of World Records. Here we have a World Almanac from 1959. Wow. That's got to be an interesting read, actually. I got a bunch of other ones from sort of more recent years. Not super recent, actually, early 90s, looks like. There's a bunch of like baseball content down here. So interesting. Oh, here's a Henry Kissinger. Kind of all over the map in terms of books, but very historically focused, just a little bit all over the map in terms of subjects and whatnot. A little bit of a Civil War lean, but there's a little bit of everything in here. Boy, I'm trying to pick out like what would I read first? All these random books. I do want to read up on Mao, given or where things are with China now. Reading that history, I think, would be quite interesting. I'm always good on for a Lincoln book, but I know a lot about Lincoln already. Some of the religion stuff is interesting. Literature kind of catches my fancy every once in a while. Poetry. I've never gotten super into poetry. It seemed like a bit of an easy profession to be a poet, but I know that's not true. Let's see, Darwin. If that science stuff is at a high enough level, I guess I could be into it. Histories of the World. Thatcher. I might start with that 1959 World Almanac. That sounds pretty interesting. Books. I'm going to check out some of the other books that are sitting around here. Anyway, interesting little ride through some books. Mostly old, but a few new. Okay, well, I'm going to pick something out and see what I can learn about history.